I'm Cath. Welcome to my channel made by Cath Craft. Thank you very much for joining me for my latest episode of my midweek sewing chat, where I pop on and share a little bit about what I've been up to on the sewing front over the last week. And that can include sharing new fabrics or new sewing patterns, talking about projects I'm working on and projects I've completed, and that sort of thing. So I really enjoy popping on and sharing a bit of my sewing life on a weekly basis. And if you're a regular viewer, you know I try to publish these videos on a Wednesday, so midweek. So in today's video, I've got a couple of new fabrics to share with you and a couple of new projects that I'm starting working on. I've also got one finished project to share that I talked about in last week's video and I've now gone on to finish. And I've got another completed make that I realised I hadn't included in any of my recent videos. Last weekend I published a makes video showing some of my recent makes and I forgot to include this one, so I thought I'd include it here. And I've also got a new sewing tool to share that I'm quite excited to give a try, so I'm going to talk about that too. But first, before I start sharing all of that, I usually start the video off with what I'm wearing today. And today is a bit of a funny day here actually. Definitely the weather over the last week or so has got a lot more autumnal here. We had quite a week of rain, which was quite nice actually because there'd been a bit of a drought over the summer. So it's been quite nice to have a good amount of rain. The garden's definitely looking a bit greener now. And it's gone a bit cooler. But actually today the weather seems quite warm again. The sun is shining out there, and when I looked at the weather forecast this morning, it said it was going to get up to about 25 degrees, so maybe it's going to be one final day of summer today. I think it's due to get cooler again tomorrow, but I thought I'd enjoy the summer weather while it's here today, and I thought I'd wear this dress here, which is quite a nice summery one. And I don't think I've actually worn this one this summer, but I do really like it, so I thought I'd get it out today and enjoy wearing it before the weather gets a bit cool for this one, because it's quite a lightweight dress. And this is a dress that I made using this sewing pattern here, which is the Hinterland dress by Sew Liberated. So I've only ever made two Sew Liberated patterns, but they're both ones I really love. One is this one, the Hinterland dress, and the other one is their estuary skirt. And they're both patterns I've made multiple times and really enjoy, so I probably should explore a bit more of their pattern catalogue. But the Hinterland dress is a really nice woven dress pattern. I've got the line drawings here. I had a look on their brochure and they're a bit bigger than on the pattern envelope. It's a woven dress pattern with a gathered skirt and a button down front, and you can either make the button down front just on the bodice or take it all the way down the skirt. And then there are different skirt lengths that you can make, and also different sleeve lengths. You can either make a sleeveless version, which I think is there, or a short sleeve version or a longer sleeve version. And it's got quite a nice scoop neck. You can add pockets, there are optional waist ties. So it's one of those patterns I think you can get quite a lot of different versions or variations out of the one pattern. And it's got a really good size range too. I think it goes from a size 0 up to a size 34, which takes you up to a bust of 58.5 inches. Yeah, it's a really nice flexible pattern. I think it sews up really nicely, and I just quite like the fit on me, where the shoulder seams fit and where the bust starts fit and that sort of thing. Yeah, I was just thinking, has it got bust starts? It has got bust starts, and I like where they fit and everything. It just seems to fit me quite well, this one. And it sews up really nicely, and I really like how the neckline's finished with bias binding, so I think it's finished really nicely, this one too. And I've made a few different versions, and this one's a slight hack because, as you can see, there's no button placket down the front. It's a really simple hack to do of this pattern to make it as kind of like a simple dress with a gathered skirt and no placket. You basically just take the front pattern piece and cut it on the fold, and it just works out fine if you do that, and then just sew the rest of it up as per the pattern, and just instead of finishing the bias binding on each side, you add just one continuous piece of bias binding round to finish the neckline. It's quite a nice scoop neckline, I think, this one. So yeah, I've made quite a simple version of this one, and I've made it with the short sleeves and a skirt that comes just above my knee, and I added on waist ties to cinch it into the waist. I think the pattern has quite sort of chunky waist ties, but I went for sort of skinnier ones because I thought they would suit this sort of delicate fabric better. And this fabric is a really lovely viscose fabric. I got it a couple of years ago, so I don't think it's probably available to find anywhere now. I remember it came in this colourway, which is this lovely mustard, and also a really pretty sort of almost crimson colour too. But I really love how it's kind of a leopard print, but a bit different. It's got this mustard colour and then these sort of pops of hot pink. So I really like this fabric. It's a lovely lightweight viscose, so it's quite a nice dress for wearing on a warmer day. And I think I made the size 0 on this pattern. I sized down slightly because this pattern is designed to be a little bit oversized and quite a loose fitting sort of gathered sort of skirt dress, but I didn't want it too loose fitting, and I wanted to sort of cinch it in so it does sort of pull around my waist. So I sized down to the size 0, which is designed for bust of 31 inches and waist of 25 inches and hips of 33.5 inches, and I'm 32, 26, 36. So my bust and waist are only just slightly larger, they put me in the size 2, and my hips are quite a bit bigger than the size 0, but actually because it's a gathered skirt there's plenty of room in the skirt, so I didn't really need to worry too much about the hips measurement. But I'll put a picture up of me wearing it. It's nice and comfy to wear. As I said, it fits really nicely and I love this fun fabric. So that is what I'm wearing today. So now I'll move on to sharing with you what I've been up to over the last week or so on the sewing front. And the first thing I thought I'd share is the project that I finished this week that I talked about in last week's video, which is a slightly unseasonal bikini set. So I mentioned in last week's video that I'd been lacking a bit of sewing inspiration over the summer, so I decided to get my fabric remnant suitcase down, have a bit of a rummage through it and see if it might give me a bit of sewing inspiration. That suitcase is full of offcuts from previous projects and some of them are quite decent sizes. So I thought I might be able to find some fabric that I could sew up and maybe get a bit of sewing momentum back. And when I was looking for that suitcase, I found this swimwear fabric, so I decided to sew up this bikini. I hadn't actually sewn up any swimwear this summer. I had worn quite a lot. When we went on holiday, I did wear quite a lot of handmade bikinis and swimsuits that I'd made in previous years, but I hadn't made any this summer because it's not my favourite thing to sew and I just wasn't in the mood for sewing it this year. But I thought actually I quite fancied sewing up a swimming costume or bikini, so I thought I'd grab this fabric down from the suitcase and give it a go. So I've been sewing it up over the last week or two. So I finished it off now and I'll share with you my completed bikini set. So it's made in leftover fabric from a swimming costume that I made a while ago. And it's a really lovely, I think it's a Liberty fabric. It came from Sister Mintaka. My husband got it for me for a birthday or Christmas present and I had quite a decent amount left. I guess swimwear doesn't take too much fabric really, so even if you get a metre or two you can often squeeze quite a decent amount out of that. So what I decided to do was I decided to sew up the bikini top from this pattern here, which is one of my favourite swimwear patterns, which is the Vanazza 2-piece bikini set by Friday Pattern Co. This is a top here, it's got this cute little tie at the front and it sews up really nicely. It's fully lined, feels quite supportive once you sewed it up because it's got elastic around the front here. So it does feel quite nice and supportive once you're in it. So I'll show you my little top that I made using that Friday Pattern Co Vanazza 2-piece pattern. Here is my finished top. It turned out really nicely actually. I think it looks really cute. I pretty much made the pattern as per the pattern envelope. I made the size extra small, which is a bust 32 to 33 inches. And like I mentioned, I'm bust 32 inches. That size works for me. I did decide to lengthen the ties just slightly at the front because I have found them coming up a little bit short. And it's quite nice to have a decent amount of fabric there to be able to tie it nice and tight. But yeah, this is my little bikini top. Like I mentioned in last week's video, I didn't have quite enough of the Liberty fabric. So what I did was I used some other swimwear fabric I had in my stash, this navy blue fabric for the inside, which you can't see once it's on. I did use the Liberty fabric for the front though, for both sides, just so that the ties, both sides are this fabric. I think if I'd used the navy fabric, you'd have had a half sort of black sort of dashy tie and a half navy tie, which wouldn't have worked so well. So yeah, this is my swimwear top. It's really comfy to wear actually. I'm really glad I had enough fabric to squeeze this out of it. And then I made some bikini bottoms and here are the finished bottoms. Again, I lined these in the navy fabric to use up 2. So that's quite good because I used up 2 fabrics for my stash, which I was quite pleased with. All the navy swimwear fabric and this lovely black fabric with the cute little dashes on is all gone now. It's got a little waistband at the top. I didn't add elastic into the waistband. On a couple of patterns, they say you can add it if you want to. And when I've added it, I found it's cut in a little bit too much. And I find that swimwear fabric is taut enough, particularly once you've added the lining, that I find it stays up fine without the elastic. And particularly with this pair of bikini bottoms, I've made them quite high-waisted, so they do sit on my natural waist. So I guess they kind of pull a little bit there. If they sit a bit lower, maybe on my hip, I might be a bit more concerned maybe about them sort of coming down a little bit. But when they sit on the waist, I find they sort of sit quite securely. And yes, those are the bottoms. And for the bottoms, I actually sort of hacked another pattern because I really like the shape of the leg holes. And it's a pattern that I find sits quite nicely on me generally, which is this swimwear pattern here, the Opium Pilates swimsuit. This is a swimsuit pattern with these sort of bikini bottoms, and then you sew onto them this interesting top with a tie front and a sort of cut out back. But it was quite easy to hack it just to use the bottoms of this pattern. I basically just took the bottom pattern pieces. I think I brought it up slightly just to bring it right up to my natural waist and then added on a waistband on the top. So it's quite a simple, nice hack. So I've got my 2-piece bikini set here. So I'm really pleased to have sewn those up and I'm looking forward to wearing them at the first opportunity I have. I need to get some pictures of this one. I haven't got pictures of me wearing this yet. So I'll get some pictures and I'll hopefully share them in a video soon. But yeah, I'm really pleased to finish that one off. So as well as my bikini set, I've got one other completed make to share with you in this video, and this is the one that I forgot to include in my makes video at the weekend. It's one I think I made earlier in the summer and it just slipped my mind, so I thought I'd pop it in this video here because it seemed a shame not to share it somewhere. And it's a dress that I made for my daughter, and I made it using a pattern that I've got a lot of wear out. I've used quite a lot of her before, so you may recognise it from my previous videos. And it's this one here, which is the pansy dress pattern by Poppy and Jazz. And Poppy and Jazz is the So Over at London children's pattern company, and they have some really cute patterns. I've only made two of them. I've made the pansy dress and the strawberry sweatshirt, and I probably won't be making many more of them now because their patterns go from newborn to 6 years, and my daughter is 6 now, so she's getting right to the top end of their range. But I've got loads of use out of this pattern, and I might continue to use it to make clothing for my niece who's a couple of years younger as well. But it's a really nice little jersey dress pattern. It's quite a simple one with a round neck, a gathered skirt and long sleeves, but it's easy enough tack to make short sleeve obviously. Like I mentioned, it goes from newborn to 6 years, but I do find it comes up a little bit on the large side. So I've made quite a few versions for my daughter over the years, but this summer she's really had a growth spurt, and I've noticed that a couple of versions that I made maybe a couple of years ago and I made midi length, and then they sort of started to come up to knee length and now getting a bit short. So we decided to make her a new one because I think those dresses will probably have to be retired by next summer, which would be really sad actually because I've really enjoyed seeing her make a couple of and wear a couple of them, and they're really pretty little fabrics. But we managed to find some more fabric to make one for this year, and it's really cute fabric actually. So this is her latest version of the pansy dress by Poppy and Jazz, and it's in this really cute unicorn print fabric. So it's got this pink background, and she loves pink and all these little unicorns on and clouds, and yeah, it's quite a sweet fabric. She really likes it. It's cotton jersey, so nice and comfy for her. I can't remember where this fabric came from actually. It came from a website that I was less familiar with. I will find out and I'll make sure I link it down below, and I'll link this fabric if it's still available. So I made the short sleeve version because she seems to get a lot of wear out of the short sleeve versions in the summer, and she can always add on a little cardigan in the winter to keep her cosy, so they work quite well through the year. And then I added a little ruffle on the bottom because I think that's quite a nice feature that I often like to add on her dresses just to make that a little extra bit different, and she quite likes sort of swishing around with the ruffle. For this version, I decided to size up because her other versions were getting a bit small. I think her other versions might have actually been a size age 4, and I just lengthened them a little bit. So I went for this version straight up to the size 6, and it's actually turned out a bit big on her. So yeah, it came down to really sort of the longer end of midi length on her when she tried it on this year. So she didn't actually get too much wear out of it this summer, which is I think why I'd sort of forgotten it and hadn't included it in my makes video because it hasn't been worn a great deal. So I think it's one she's going to grow into. I think it'll be perfect for her by next summer. It'll probably be just the right length as it should be when she's grown that little bit more. But yeah, I thought I'd share that one. It's a really nice pattern. It comes together really quickly. It doesn't need too much fabric obviously because the pattern pieces are quite small with it being such small sizes. So it's definitely one I've really loved, and I'll be a bit sad when I make my final one of these pansy dresses for her. But it's nice to know that it has got a bit more time to go with her, given this one did come up quite big. I haven't got a picture of her wearing this one. She wasn't in the mood for taking pictures at that point. So unfortunately I haven't got one of those to share. But yeah, it's a really cute dress, I think. Really nice fabric, and I will, like I mentioned, link the fabric company I got it from down below. So the next thing I wanted to share is a new fabric that arrived with me this week. And I've got firm plans for this fabric. I know exactly what I want to sew, and I've got it pre-washed already. So now I just need to get on and cut it out and sew it up. And I want to do that sooner rather than later. I often find when I order fabrics online, when I order them, I have a clear idea in my head of what I want to make, and then when they arrive, I start wavering and think of other patterns that work really well with them. But with this fabric, I definitely went looking for it with this particular pattern in mind, and when it arrived at my house, I was still sure I wanted to make the same pattern, which made it a lot easier. So this is the fabric here. It is a viscose challis fabric that I got from Minerva. It's got this black base and this pretty ditzy floral print on in white, so it's kind of a monochromatic fabric, which is what I wanted. I know Minerva stock a lot of this style of fabric, so what I did is I went on their website and I popped in viscose challis into the search bar, and then you can narrow it down by colour, so I just narrowed it down to just fabrics that have a black colourway because I knew I wanted a black and white sort of print. And I spent a while looking through all the options. There were quite a few options. I narrowed it down to a few and decided on this one in the end because I really like the scale of the floral print. I thought it'd work really well for the pattern I had in mind. And I'm really happy with the fabric actually. It's nice and opaque, it's lovely and drapey and soft, so I'm really looking forward to sewing with it. Hopefully it'll sew up nicely. And I'll link it down below. It's only £5.99 a metre, and I think I needed 2 metres, so yeah, I thought it was quite good value. So yeah, I'm looking forward to sewing it up. And the pattern I want to sew up using this fabric is this pattern here. And I've wanted to make this for a while in this style of fabric. It is the free pattern. It is the Sabina skirt pattern by the Little Pomegranate. It's a really nice free pattern. It's really easy to get. I'll link the website down below. You just go on there and sign up for the newsletter and you get emailed this pattern, all the pattern pieces and everything, and instructions. And the instructions are really, really clear on this pattern. It's definitely designed with the beginner in mind. It really holds your hand through the whole sewing process, and there are lots of explanations of terms and techniques throughout. So it's a really well written pattern, I think. It's a really pretty woven skirt pattern. I think there's a line drawing here so you can see. So a woven skirt pattern with a elasticated waist and then these slash pockets. And what I like about the pockets particularly is they're sort of built or sort of sewn into the waistband. So if you're working with like a lightweight fabric like this, the pockets don't sort of drag down, they're sort of held in place. And it's designed to be midi length with this little ruffle on the bottom. It comes together really nicely. The pockets are finished really nicely with French seams on the inside. So really nice finish. And it's just a really nice, simple sew. So I've made one version of the Sabina skirt before. Oh, I should mention the size range actually. It's available in a size UK 6 to 34, so it's got a really great size range too. But I've made one version of the Sabina skirt before. I made it at the beginning of summer and I've really enjoyed wearing it over the summer. I'll pop a picture of that one in so you can see what it looks like. As you can see, it's another ditzy floral print with a navy base, and this one's got white flowers, little bits, pops of yellow in it, and it feels like a bit more of a summery print, and that fabric's a little bit lighter weight actually than this viscose here. It's a very floaty, lightweight viscose, that one. But I really wanted a sort of wintry version that I could maybe team with black tops, like black sweaters, black polo necks and that sort of thing. I thought that would be really nice as well with black boots and things. And I'm new to midi. It's a kind of length I've discovered this year that I'm quite enjoying wearing actually, so I thought it'd be fun to have a wintry midi skirt. So that's what I'm planning on sewing up with this fabric, and I want to get it sewn up sooner rather than later so I can have a bit of fun trying it out with different things in my wardrobe and seeing what it goes with. So that is my plan on that one. So yeah, I'll share with you progress on that one in due course. At the moment the fabric is washed but needs to be cut out, but it is quite a simple sew, so hopefully it'll sew up quite nicely once I start with that one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to having a midi sort of wintry skirt in my wardrobe, and I really like this print. It was quite nice to have so many options to choose from so I could choose just the right fabric. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that one sewn up. So I'm really looking forward to sewing up the Sabina skirt. I can't wait to have that in my autumn winter wardrobe. I think it'll get a lot of wear, and hopefully it should be fun to sew up this time too, and nice and straightforward. And I'm happy this time around that I don't need to think too much about the length of it. I'm going to go with the same length as my first version. And with my first version, I did agonise a little bit over the length. I lengthened the pattern pieces to the main skirt because I thought it might come up a bit short. And then when I sort of put it all together and sort of basted on the frill, it came up really long. So I ended up cutting it back. And I think I cut it back a couple of times and ended up taking it back to the length of the original sort of skirt pattern pieces. So I needn't have gone through the whole process of lengthening it and then shortening it again. So it's nice to know second time around I won't have to bother with that. I'll just repeat the process per the original pattern pieces, and I know I'm happy with that length. So yeah, it should be a nice, simple, straightforward sew, that one. So the next thing I wanted to share in this video is a new sewing pattern I got this week, and I'm really looking forward to sewing this one up. It's quite a new pattern. It was only released recently. It's the latest pattern by Friday Pattern Company, which is their sports shorts pattern. So here it is. It's a really nice shorts pattern, and I really was drawn to all the details on it as soon as it came out. I'll show you the line drawing so you can see all the details. They're a really pretty pair of shorts, I think. So they're designed to be made in woven fabrics, and they've got an elasticated waist, an optional waist tie, and these cute pockets that you finish with bias binding. And the feature I really love is how the hem and sides are also finished with bias binding. I think it's a really fun way to finish it, and it's really fun to be able to choose some contrasting fabrics for the main fabric and the bias binding and make a real feature out of it. So I'm really looking forward to giving this pattern a go. What's really cool about this pattern too is there is a free pattern, or it's optionally free. I'll link the pattern on the Friday Pattern Co website down below, and when you go on the website you can either choose to download it for free or you can make a contribution of different amounts. They give you different options, so you can basically give as much as you want for this pattern. But yeah, I really like the look of it. I know it's called a sports shorts pattern because it's got quite a sporty vibe to it, but I thought you could probably get a lot of different uses out of this pattern. I think they'd be great as pyjama bottoms, but also what I'd really like to make is a pair to have to just wear around the home, like loungewear for the summer. Because this summer, in the winter, generally in the evenings, I'll change into a pair of my True Bias Hudson pants in the evening to get all comfy and cosy. But this summer's been really warm. It's been a bit too warm to wear Hudson pants. I've just been wearing my pyjama shorts in the evenings. But I have thought it'll be quite nice to have a bit of distinction between loungewear and actual sort of sleepwear. So I've been wanting to make a pair of shorts that I could pop on instead of my pyjama shorts in the evenings, just to chill at the house. But I thought I could make some quite pretty ones using this pattern that I could really enjoy wearing too. So I'm really looking forward to giving this pattern a go. It's got a really good size range too. It goes from an extra small, which is from a waist of 24 inches, up to a 7X, which takes you up to a waist of 53 inches and hips of 63 inches. So really size inclusive. And I know that Friday Pattern Co instructions are always really good. I really enjoy following their instructions. So I can't wait to get a pair of these sport shorts sewn up. And I'm going to go for a pair of loungewear style sport shorts. Although I love the idea of making a pair actually do sport into, so that might be on my list of things to do in the future if the first pair turn out nicely. So I'm really looking forward to giving them a go, and I've got some fabric on the way. I was hoping it would have arrived by the time I came to making this video, but it hasn't, so I'll share it with you in a video soon. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to giving this pattern a go. And I also have a sewing tool that I bought that I'm hoping to use in conjunction with this pattern, because this pattern obviously requires bias binding on the pockets and around the bottom here. And I've never had a bias binding maker before, so I thought I decided to give one a go, because sometimes it can be really fiddly, I think, particularly when you're using like sort of fabrics like viscose to get the bias binding to sort of fold nicely using the iron when you're sort of making it just by hand. So I thought I'd buy a bias binding maker. There's a bit of a funny story to this bias binding maker that I ended up getting. So I originally bought one online, but when I bought it along with my Sabina skirt fabric on the Minerva website, and I didn't realise there were different size options available. So I saw the picture and I knew I needed the 18mm wide bias tape maker, and I saw the picture for it, but when I didn't realise there was a drop down menu with lots of different sizes. So I just clicked add to basket, and when the bias binding maker arrived, it was a lot smaller than I expected, so I'll show you it here. It's very cute, but very, very teeny. It is a 6mm wide bias tape maker, so you can see it's really, really teeny. It'll make the most daintiest bias tape ever. I'm not sure what I'm going to use this for. Yeah, I don't know what to use it for really. So if you have any ideas of what you could use a really, really delicate, tiny 6mm wide bias tape for, I'd be very grateful to hear. Because yeah, it's a lot smaller than I was expecting. I then went on to buy the actual proper size, so I've now got this one too, which is the 18mm wide one. So they're both Clover bias tape makers. I've heard lots of good things about them, and I'm really looking forward to giving them a go actually. I'm hoping it'll make the process of making bias tape a lot more easy and make it a lot more consistent and neat than I've sometimes been able to get it when I've just been using the iron and sort of folding it over manually using my hands and doing it by hand. So yeah, this is a proper size. As you can see, it's a lot wider. That'll work really well with the sport shorts. That's the size I need, but this one is very, very cute, I think, if a little impractical for the sport shorts. But yeah, if you have one of this size and use it for something, I'd be really intrigued as to what you use it for, because it's very cute and small. So that is my new sewing tool I wanted to share. I will let you know how I get on with it, and if it does make making bias tape a lot easier than doing it just sort of manually by hand. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to sewing up the sport shorts. I think it's really cool that Friday Pattern Co released this free pattern, or optionally free, and that you can contribute what you want. I think it's a great idea. And yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing with you my version once my fabric arrives and I get sewing. So that's everything that I've got to share in this video. So thank you very much for watching and hearing me chat about what I've been up to sewing wise and what my sewing plans are too. And as ever, if you've enjoyed the video, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, then thank you very much for stopping by. If you'd like to hear more about my sewing projects and plans and fabrics and pattern hacks and all that sort of thing, I would love it if you would consider subscribing. And if you do press the subscribe button, then please do also press the bell icon, because that means you'll be notified when I bring my future videos out. So I'm planning to release my next video on Saturday, so I'd love it if you'd join me for that one too. But in the meantime, I hope you have a really nice week, and yeah, see you again soon. Thanks again for watching. Bye!